Thanks for showing up. I'm excited to be here. My name is Thiago Carvalho. I'm the VP of Utilities at AiDash.
I'm Kristen Bridges. I work for Alabama Power.
All right, good afternoon. Bert Stewart, National Grid. In 2020, we had some serious headwinds at National Grid, specifically our Massachusetts jurisdiction. I would say we probably had the worst safety performance likely in the company's history. We just experienced a number of back-to-back-to-back storms. So of course, our company is like, we can't do this anymore, right? We got to do something a little different. In conjunction with that, we were also deferring miles and circuits off our work plan because our costs were increasing at double-digit percentage rates. So as a result, we start taking least risk circuits off the work plan, essentially kicking the can down the road. And we were doing that 3 years, almost 4 years in a row. So obviously that is not sustainable to run a program.
In Alabama, it's a great place, but it's really warm. We've got a lot of warm water vapor from the Gulf of Mexico. We've got a really long growing season in Alabama and a lot of biodiversity. So we were just constantly challenged by a lot of the same things that Bert mentioned, but it was further complicated because we couldn't come up with a good average cycle. What worked in the northern part of our service territory wouldn't necessarily be ideal for the southern part of our service territory. So we were really needing a way to kind of get a handle on that and prioritize things similar to what Bert described.
Traditionally, we are on a time-based cycle approach for our distribution system. And pretty much for our transmission system as well. Very mature system. I think we have 40, 50 years of cycle-based approach in New York, 15, 20 years cycle-based approach in Massachusetts. Forward thinking, knowing that our contractor rates are going to increase, climate changes are going to have impacts and things of that nature. So hence why National Grid 3, 4 years ago made the change to, instead of a time-based approach, condition-based approach. Technology ended up being condition-based approach, and we reached out to a number of different vendors, AiDash being one of them. And the result was we did a proof of concept. And usually when we apply a proof of concept to our business, it's small scale, right? It's a snippet. Our proof of concept we did with AiDash in 2020. It was August to October, 3-month proof of concept. And the end result of that proof of concept, was an actionable work plan the following fiscal year on our entire system in Massachusetts. And the end result was certainly positive. We're in a good spot today. Really wanted to see how the system would perform, how those metrics would perform, and looking at our tree-related indices and outages and how that translates to the overall system performance. The company was fully supportive, put together IT engineers for us. They put together project managers for us. I don't think everybody has that luxury. And not only that, we also brought in a consultant group to help us with that as well, to really lay out things such as MVPs or minimum viable products, things that were minimum to move forward with a condition-based approach. What I like about the condition-based approach, right? It's having that snapshot of the system, understanding what the condition of the system is, right, and identifying where you got to do the work. Because on a time-based approach, frankly, your prudent stuff, you don't need to prune, right? The other thing too is I'll mention is that early on we were actually doing less miles. Kristen mentioned some savings by doing less miles. In the first year, 2 years, we were actually doing less miles. The last 3 years, so this current fiscal year we're finishing right now, the next 2, we actually ran in the IVMS platform solution, we ran unconstrained. We want to levelize our workload to maintain consistency in our tree crew resources. Right, doing less is great. We are seeing some benefits in safety and safety. The amount of tree incidents reductions that we're seeing, it's equating to about a 3% improvement on our safety and safety metrics at the system level. But nonetheless, it's still moving the needle in the right direction for us. So I mentioned we actually went out with a multi-year approach using IVMS to identify work plans. Traditionally, we've always been a year in advance, give our vendors the work plan. The following April, they start it. This year, it's not a new concept, but National Grid, it's, again, a little bit of a culture shift, putting out a multi-year work plan to bid, and we just awarded that. With regard to KPIs, I took a conservative approach. I said, listen, if you can tell me I can do less miles and maintain my benchmark reliability performance, that's a win to me, right? we're beating that, of course, right? We're doing better than our benchmark. We're improving our reliability metrics from a veg perspective. So we didn't do it just from a cost perspective. Really, to me, it's about serving the customer and making sure their lights stay on and they don't see those interruptions as much. That's really my goal.
We've traditionally always had a cycle-based approach, but due to constraints, really needed a way to prioritize where our resources were going. So about 2018, we started with what we called a feeder prioritization matrix, where we took into account things like number of customers impacted and VM-related reliability stats and year since last trim. And sort of drove out a prioritization so we could allocate our resources most effectively. And that was helpful, but reliability is a lagging indicator. It's when your customer's already been impacted, and we just wanted to get better. So we started looking into, okay, how can we do true condition-based, have a true condition-based VM program, and we need to know what the conditions are on our whole system at the time. So we started looking into what technology and solutions were out there. There's a lot out there. And honestly, they all have upsides and there's some limitations to all of them. But we really assessed it with, okay, where are we now? What are our needs? And what fits that best? We actually took the time to undertake 2 pilots. We concluded those pilots last year, and that's when we decided what fit us best was a satellite-based tool. We just kind of completed the process of creating our plans for 2024, and we started with what we've been doing for the past 5 years and did the normal prioritization. But when we brought in the satellite insights into that process, we've learned that we could actually move, it was like 114 segments out of our plan. We had to replace them with 51 segments, but it was a reduction in what needed to be trimmed of 200 miles that we wouldn't have necessarily known if we didn't have that field condition insight. We were strictly feeder based. We were breaker to end of line, and we've now gone to a segment based program. So we're hitting the worst segments on our system. It's really exciting to see our arborists get excited about incorporating technology and new ways of thinking about how we do what we do. We understand that really to get the full benefit we're looking for, we're going to have to go through a couple of iterations of scans because we're really looking to get that sort of custom growth rate by segment. And the reason that's important is I need to be able to go and tell the people who give us the money, hey, I think in year 2026, we're going to need this much money to do what's going to be due that year. And similar to levelizing, how can we levelize and keep resources stable and just try to improve the overall customer experience?